Hello, and welcome to New Beginnings Start Today, the podcast that is for people who really want to grow deeper in their faith in the Lord. I'm your host, Dr. Douglas Keffer, a minister, licensed clinical pastoral counselor here in Roanoke, Virginia, and I have a passion to help people live their faith. Today, we are going to talk about greed, never enough, and how you can see the effect of needing more and more brings such unhappiness to so many people. Let's look at this. There is no question that we are living in a society that is more materialistic than ever. The need to have more and more comes from a lie that is propagated by Satan. This lie causes so many people to be motivated by greed that says that they never have enough. Webster's dictionary defines greed as, quote, a selfish and excessive desire for more of something, such as money, than is really needed, unquote. We are seeing this kind of mindset everywhere. I am thinking of so many of the young couples I counseled over the years that I helped with their finances. Looking at what they were spending and what their income was, many were in trouble because their desire to have things was more than what they really needed. Encouraging them to develop a budget and stay within the guidelines of that they could afford was very difficult. Many were spending way too much eating out. Their excuse was that they worked so hard during the day, they did not want to come home after work and fix a dinner. They were just too tired. Another area of excessive desire was the automobiles that they drove. Their car payments were almost as high as their rent or mortgage. Their comment to me many times was, but Dr. Keffer, I work hard and I deserve that car. I could also put, I deserve that house, that ring, that phone, that TV, that watch, that gun, that camper, that boat, and on and on and on. I deserve. Greed has become a monster that is taking away the joy of seeing the blessings God gives us every day. Those blessings start with us having a personal relationship with Him that allows us to know that He supplies all of our needs, and that is so much different than all our wants. Jesus addressed the issue of greed when he was teaching. Dr. Luke tells us about this incident when he writes, someone in the crowd said to him, Teacher, tell my brother to divide the inheritance with me. Jesus replied, Man, who appointed me a judge or an arbiter between you? Then he said to them, Watch out. Be on your guard against all kinds of greed. Life does not consist in the abundance of possessions. Luke 12, verses 13 through 15. I wonder why the man ever asked Jesus to have his brother share the inheritance with him in the first place. I believe it was because greed had taken over in the circumstances, and the brother felt he did not have to share that inheritance with his brother. This kind of greed happens all the time. I recently had an email from a woman I have known for many years. She has been dating a man that she really has deep feelings for. He asked her to marry him, gave her a beautiful ring, and was ready to set a date. He has postponed the wedding 2 times. My friend now knows that he has done this because his children and ex-wife are demanding that he has a prenuptial agreement with her because they do not want to share anything that he has acquired to this point in his life. Obviously, his love for his friend is not stronger than the greed of his children and ex-wife as he continues to be ambivalent in what it is that he is going to do. I have seen this situation more times than I like to remember over the years, and it is so sad. Jesus took those people he was talking to, and he told them, "Watch out. Be on your guard against all kinds of greed. Life does not consist in the abundance of possessions." When I look at Jesus' life, I see a man who had only the clothes on his back and the sandals on his feet as his possessions in this world, and yet he was rich beyond words because of his relationship with God, his Father. He knew how people looked at their lives in terms of wealth and possessions, and they said, and the possessions that they had. That kind of mindset has been around for a very long time, and we have to combat it by teaching people that what they have acquired materialistically does not necessarily make them rich. I just got an email from a former client, and he was thanking me for what I had said recently in a podcast. He then told me that he was going to start tithing because of what his church has been emphasizing, percentage giving. And he and his wife feel compelled to give more because of how richly they have been blessed. Jesus went on and taught his disciples the parable of the rich fool. Listen to what he tells them. And he told them this parable. The ground of a certain man yielded an abundant harvest. He thought to himself, "What shall I do? I have no place to store my crops." Then he said, "This is what I'll do. I will tear down my barns and build bigger ones, and there I will store my surplus grain. And I'll say to myself, you have plenty of grain laid up for many years. Take life easy, eat, drink, and be merry." But God said to him, "You fool, this very night your life will be demanded from you. Then who will get what you have prepared for yourself? This is how it will be with whoever stores up things for themselves, but is not rich toward God." Luke 12, verses 16 through 21. This man's greed was very evident, and Jesus wanted those listening to his teaching to understand that you can acquire many, many things in this life. But if we do not have riches stored up by God's standard, all that we have will amount to nothing when we leave this world. This man planned to tear down his existing barns and build bigger ones so he could hoard his surplus grain. Then he deceived himself by saying, "Take life easy, eat, drink, and be merry." He thought he could take life for granted because of all the possessions he had, but that night he would be going to death. He would be going to die. Jesus called this man a fool because he was more concerned with what he had than what God had blessed him with. King Solomon has a great deal to say about the greediness of people in his Proverbs. He shares real insight into the principle of Jesus' parable of the rich fool when he writes, "The generous will themselves be blessed, for they share their food with the poor." Proverbs 22 and verse 9. When we learn to be generous with what we have, we share our food with the poor. I have been reading about the generosity of so many people and businesses to those who have lost everything that they had to the catastrophes rather, of recent hurricanes in the South. There is a company that has donated camper trailers to people who have lost their homes and possessions. A group of Amish carpenters that are going into areas and building small homes using their own materials that they have taken with them to use in the building of those small homes. Celebrities have donated millions of dollars to help with the cleanup those storms have caused and are sharing their generosity of how they have been blessed. This kind of generosity is described by Solomon also when he writes, "There is no one who makes himself rich, or there is one who makes himself rich, yet has nothing, and one who makes himself poor, yet has great riches." Proverbs 13:7. Greed can truly make people want to keep all that they have and not respond to anyone who is in need. Solomon says that people who live with that philosophy have nothing. They live believing that others should work as hard as they do so they can enjoy the luxuries they enjoy. Yes. The problem with this mindset is that people never have enough. They need another luxury car that they can put into their garage and never drive it in the rain. They need to have another house that they can add to their possessions, but could not tell you what kind of countertop is in the kitchen. Then there are those who find that they can give to the needs of others and that gives them great joy. I'm thinking of the parents of one of my former clients who had regular jobs but learned to be very frugal with their money. My client shared with me that they paid for his college education, and when he graduated, he had no student loans. Then, when he got married, his parents gave him and his wife a sizable amount of money that they could put on the down payment of their house. He truly saw his parents become poor, but knew they had great riches because they were able to help him in school, then he and his wife, as they started their marriage. When you look at what the Bible says about greed, most of the passages have to do with money. Jesus knew that the love of money was the root of all evil. We have to be very careful because greed can get you to believe that you need more and more things that only money can buy in order to feel complete. That is a lie that Satan keeps throwing at you every day. The Apostle Paul writes to the Hebrew Christians and warns them to be vigilant in this area when he writes, "Keep your lives free from the love of money and be content with what you have, because God has said, 'Never will I leave you, never will I forsake you.'" Hebrews 13 and verse 5. You can learn how to control the fight you have with the temptation of greed when you believe what Paul tells us in God's promise to us, never will I leave you, never will I forsake you, which is taken from Deuteronomy 31 and verse 6. Please enjoy what God has given to you and always be ready to share with those who are less fortunate than you and that have great needs. You will be blessed beyond measure. Thank you for listening to this episode, and I want to invite you to contact me and share how you are happy and thankful for what God has given you in life. Answer this question: when is the last time you thanked God for being able to pay this month's expenses and still have money left over to share? If you are seeing this on YouTube, please click the subscribe button and the like button. Also click on the share button and share it with all your friends. That'd be so helpful to me. Tell me about other issues that you would like me to address by leaving your comments. And you can email me at drdouglaskeffer@gmail.com. I also encourage you to pick up a copy of my book, New Beginnings Start Today with God. And it is on my website at drdouglaskeffer.com. Click on the link below. Until next time, God bless each of you.